And a warm welcome. I am your presenter, Sirachor. This is Generation Next, a youth movement platform geared towards inspiring, motivating, and directing young people's participation towards responsibilities in the developing society. My guest today is Mr. Wally Saine, the CEO of Applied Research Innovation and Manufacturing Company, formerly called Iron Strength Engineering. From his early days at high school, Wally found inspiration by seeking to solve societal problems related to engineering and technology. This he pursued upon admission at GTTI in 2016, now USET, University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, where he invented two devices, solar audible bird scaring machine and wind-driven bird scarer. Mr. Wally's many accomplishments include, but not limited to, providing solutions to innovations into rice fields like pest bird attacks in communities. His bird scaring machines are installed, establishing a purely research and manufacturing of agricultural and food processing products, creating employment for youth, and training young Gambians to become practical engineers. A believer in the power of domestic production and manufacturing, Wally hopes to work to make his startup engineering business a leading manufacturer of agricultural machines in not only the Gambia, but in the region at large. Wally. Wally, I am humbled to have you on Generation Next.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yes, of course, it is a pleasure. It is my pleasure. I oftentimes do not actually hear, or of course, even if you hear, perhaps maybe the motivation or perhaps the push or perhaps the support, it's oftentimes lacking. And it is stated that from a very early age, you happen to be someone who believes in solving societal problems. Take us through that journey.
Yes, thank you very much, Cor, for having me in this show. And I'm really glad to be here, at least so that I could be heard into what I'm doing as my quota into the development of this country.
Okay.
I'm so glad that you're able to recognize my efforts in trying to solve societal problems.
Right.
And like you said, since childhood, I have been trying to, do my part in solving problems related to the society. So I would say a lot of problems I have been solving when I was young. I could not remember all, but just some. I think since I was young, I was like a teen or a minor at the age of, let's say, 7 or 8.
Okay.
We used to play with these dynamos. We used to find them in radios, damaged radios.
Okay.
There are some dynamos.
Dynamos.
Yeah, we call it dynamo.
Okay.
When you break open the radio, find something that has like a round thing and you connect it on a battery, it will spin.
Okay.
So we used to make like fans out of paper
Okay.
and put it there and connect it to batteries, 2 terminals of batteries,
Okay.
and you will see it spin. So during those days, light was not very stable. So when things were really hot, I would get that and put it in my room, thinking that it would kind of like, cool the room, even though it was not doing any, effect. But at my level then, I was thinking I was solving problems.
Right.
So that also grew up, I grew up with that notion of, whenever I see things that are not well, I have, minds of trying to change it. I also went to junior school. I also been seeing people always ringing the bell, and I've been thinking how to solve that, at least to have an electric bell that will be just press a button and things will ring up. The whole school will, will be notified or alerted. So I have been thinking of all of that. I started working on that, but I couldn't finish it up. Then I was, into exams and so on. But that's just a summary of how I have been thinking of solving problems since I was young.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful, because it's like you're finding something that you believe is a problem then, and then your mind was able to pick point on, okay, how can I be of a solution to that? But of course, we often know that it's critical, particularly in Gambia, or if you like in Africa, where we see a child perhaps who is innate in a particular field, if you like, but we don't get the support. So from your childhood, seeing that, having that curious mind from your childhood, how was it for you? Of course, looking at your parents, then the society, how would you have described yourself as a child when you thought of that? How was it?
It's all about the zeal. It's very important. If you want to solve something, you have to get up and solve it. You cannot just sit down and say, I want it to get done.
Right.
You will never get done. So you have to get up and go and try your best.
That's
It might
true.
not be solved immediately, but at least you have tried your best to get it done.
Yeah.
So as a child, I have been always very active in trying to erect something, or to kind of build something. So I would never rely on somebody to do it for me. I want to go out there and try my best. I have been very stubborn since I was a child.
Yeah.
So I think that also helped me in trying to make sure that I always break the barriers. Wherever people stop, I always go beyond
Doing
that.
that.
So that also, there's always advantages and disadvantages to something. So the stubbornness there also had a lot of disadvantages, but it has an advantage in trying to push you beyond the limits.
Right.
Where people stop, you go beyond that. So
Right.
yeah.
Obviously. Well, it's important.
Yeah.
So, but as a child, it amazes me. But again, how would you have described your school, your childhood, maybe your school days, if you like? How was it? Were you the type? Because oftentimes those who are engaged in perhaps technical or solving problems,
Yeah.
technical wise,
Yeah.
might not have been really serious when it comes to going to school. So, how was your school days, your childhood, perhaps in your primary school? What kind
Yeah.
of a student were you then?
Well, I can say that I was a very good student. The fact that I had a good relationship with my teachers because I was a very good performing student at school.
Okay.
So not only related to the theory part, but also when it comes to practicals, I was very good at drawing,
Really?
arts and craft, and so on.
Okay.
So to the
Okay,
extent
you were
that-
good at arts and crafts.
Yes, arts
Okay.
and craft and drawing. So
Okay.
to the fact that some of my teachers would want me to go around classes drawing for them, A for apple and B for ball.
Really?
So I would go and draw A for apple and draw an apple ball and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very good at that. I would even sometimes make lunch out of it. So
Wow.
sometimes, my other colleagues would tell me, "Don't draw Cristiano Ronaldo" or something like that, and I would draw it for them, and they would give me something.
Right.
So I was like very good. The whole school knew me of somebody who was very good at drawing.
Right.
So when I also went to junior school, the same thing also follows me. I was very good with technical, and also arts and craft. Mr. Fall was there helping me with some arts and craft and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. That's very good. So it means, therefore, when it comes to the arts
Yeah.
field, that's your gift
Yeah.
as a child, and
Sure.
you were able to realize that. So how were your parents? How supportive were they?
Yeah, they were very supportive. Maybe they did not just understood what it would lead to, but I remember my mom telling me that I was going around. I saw somebody who was painting on the street, of a building, and I stopped and I tell him that my son used to draw very well. I hope if he sees what you're doing, he'll be very happy.
Yes.
So yeah, he told me that. I think that also was a motivation, that he was also aware of what I was capable of.
Okay.
So my parents also were very supportive behind. Yeah, even though they did not tell me plainly, but
Right.
I knew they were very proud of me that I was able to create something and draw. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what was the first thing you decided to draw? But most importantly, how did you realize that you've had this love for arts and craft? How?
Yeah, I would say the first thing I started to draw was banyas.
But
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I remember before I was very passionate with, drawing banyas.
Right.
Anytime I'll draw, I'll call people and say, look at this, I drew banyas, and they'll say, yeah, I think you missed, the eyes were not so perfect and so on. So I would try and rectify it. Later on, I started drawing Yaya Jame. During those days, I would draw him when he was a military officer. I would draw him sitting down, with his red beret. I keep, developing it and perfecting it until I was able to get the perfect view of Jame on my paper.
Fantastic.
So I was very eager and was very happy when drawing things.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So sometimes you may say it's a family bila, it's a bloodline bila.
Yeah.
Right? Now, in your family, is there someone else who is gifted when it comes to the same
Yes,
line?
that's true. That is also very true because
Okay, yeah.
children tends to, how to call it, like what they see in the environment.
Right.
So my brother also was a very good
Ooh,
artist.
really?
Yeah, he also would draw things sometimes at home. When I was young, I would see him drawing. So I always try to do also the same thing. And I end up even doing better than him. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So like
Mashallah.
children, like you said, it's true. It could be in the family. It could also be in the environment. Wherever they're exposed to, they tend to take up that, as their, yeah.
Fantastic. Beautiful. So now take us through. in high school, of course, the arts and craft have been there. You've been drawing, you know, being a society, you see problems in society and you want to be a solver. Now, what happens after you graduated from high school?
Okay, after I graduated from high school,
Right.
I had this mindset of becoming an engineer because I know that like for me to solve those problems, I have to be a technical expert. I have to be an engineer.
Right.
So in those days also I was very good at researching. So I went to the net to try if I want to build a car, what shall I study? Then I see on the list telling me you have to be an engineer, a mechanical engineer. That's the line of service if you want to be a car developer or something like that.
Right.
So then I also looked at the institution in this country here. There was no country institution that was offering engineering course except GDTI.
Right.
And for GDTI also, it has a limit. You can only do at the level of a diploma. That was the limit. So then I went to GDTI and I was told that they are offering these courses, electrical, mechanical, thermodynamics, and those other courses.
Right.
So I chose mechanical engineering as my course of study.
Wow, fantastic. That's beautiful. So I also have another question because I would like to believe that some of us may not be gifted as to your case because it was innate, if you like, or your brother inspired you because he was into it. What would you say to someone who perhaps has never thought of being a problem solver, but also has never thought of course, being an engineer or going into the technical field, but perhaps now, of course, after watching you, are now inspired? Does it mean you have to have someone who is close to you or the society for you to actually become something that you never thought of you would be?
No, it's never late to become somebody that you want to be, unless you die, probably. Okay. But it's never late. I think the first thing I would advise is for you to be somebody who is eager to know. So if you're eager to know something, it means you are ready to put more effort into that. So you spend like a lot of time trying to research, trying to know, trying to learn, trying to read books, and always try to discover. Right. So there are a lot of, especially in this generation, this time, there is a lot of opportunity for you to learn things. Even on YouTube, you can just see a video of somebody who tells you, explain to everything you need to even build a car. Right. You know, so everything is provided out there. Before you have to go to the library and read books, but now, so what that person needs to do is just to be willing to discover new things, be willing to put that effort and abandon the mobile phone. Okay. Yeah, and read books, you know, try to be more serious, try to be more proactive, try to be somebody who would like to know new things. Then you will obviously get there. So that was the case with you. You happen to engage yourself. Is it reading and doing research on the internet? Yes. And did you have someone else you looked up to, apart from maybe your brother, someone else that inspired you? Yes, definitely. Because what happened is, and I'm still working with them, they are my teachers. They taught me, one of them taught me when I was in high school, and the other one also taught me when I was in GDTI. So these are people that also inspired me because I also look at their capabilities. And they're Gambians, but they are very talented. Right. So I believe that, you know, it's a treasure for Gambians to have people like them, you know, around. But it seems like Gambia also is a problem for our leadership to be able to harness those people that are very good, provide them the environment for them to be able to expose their talent and change the country. So I always look up to them also as people who give me inspiration. Because when they taught me up to I graduated and I was deciding to establish this company, you know, they also came back and supported me. Your teachers? So, yes, my teachers, yeah. Okay. They supported me, and not only that, they also joined the business that we are also creating. So that also tells you they believe in what we are also doing, and that also added to my inspiration. Fantastic, beautiful. Yeah. Wow, that's nice. So you've mentioned that there is a problem when it comes to the support and all that. In your case, what would you say was the problem? Yeah, the problem is, you know, youths like us having the energy and the zeal to be able to solve our problems that the society is facing, not being accepted or not being provided the means for them to be able to do that. That was a big challenge. That was a big, you know, the biggest challenge. Right. I see that now it's changing a little bit because now authorities are able to give us an eye, I could say. Right. So, but before or a couple of months ago, it was completely different. You know, you will visit the Minister of Agriculture and try to tell them that, okay, you are buying this machine from overseas. We can make them even better here. but they would still not believe that you can do it. Or even if they believe it, they would not want to give you the opportunity to prove yourself. So, and you the next day you will see them buy those machines from overseas and spend millions of dollars on that.
Wow.
That was really discouraging.
Wow, of
Yeah.
course, of course. But what do you think could have been the reason why? Because I would like to believe if it's made here in Gambia, we have young people like yourself who believes that there is a problem that needs to be solved, and when you're able to invent a machine that can be used locally, and you can get locally, it means it's saving you cost from having to do all the
Definitely.
logistic involved. So why would you think they would have refused to engage with young people like yourself?
I believe it could be personal reason. I don't know, but that's what I believe, because I have been like, I cannot remember the number of times I've gone there to convince them.
Right.
The number of times I've written letters. The number of times
Wow.
I've tried to. I even went to the point of having trying to get them to sign an MOU with them until the MOU was drafted, but it was not signed. So and then I discovered maybe, I don't know, it could be personal reasons, but I was really discouraged. But still, I did not give up.
Right.
I keep doing at my own level. But I believe if I was embraced by them,
Right.
by now it could have been a different story.
Different story. Oh,
Yes.
wow. That doesn't tell well. Yeah. But how is the situation now with you? Of course, we believe, or we know that you're inventing machines, but also machines particularly to help the agricultural sector. Tell us more. Why do you feel the need that it was necessary to do so? Take us along that side.
Yeah. So when I went, and because I studied mechanical engineering in GTI, so my first year I did all the courses. The second year, before you before you graduate, you are required to work on a school project.
Okay.
So my class,
that's a requirement for anybody who goes to GTI.
Yes. If you're doing mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know of other diplomas, but mechanical engineering, that's what I know of at the time.
Okay.
It was a requirement to work on a school project before you're given your certificate. So then I had my colleagues, some of them were working on other projects. Someone was working on, I think, a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Somebody was working on a groundnut oil presser.
Right.
So then because I was also very updated on the current issues around the Gambia. So I was seeing online always people complaining of birds around CRR and there. Okay. So then I decided to say, wow, I think if this is happening, there could be a solution, to that. So I also made further research and realized that farmers spend most of their harvest are lost to birds.
Oh.
And then I also discovered that, there are certain things that are used to scare birds, not to my design. So I also went back and make research and tried to create something that would work for Gambia, and it would solve that problem. Right. So it was very tough, I would say, because there was no funding. You have to provide all for yourself. And as a student, you know how things were as a student. Yeah. So I was able to go here and there, get some funds and build a prototype. So I went to a nearby farm behind GTI. There's a woman who was doing some rice cultivation. Okay. So I remember the first day I went to her and I told her, she was cooking then, I told her I came to test my machine that would scare birds. She stopped cooking and came and ran away and came and said, yeah, you see, I have been struggling with these birds years, decades on. Aww. So if you come to help me with a machine that will scare birds, I will be very happy. Right. So that's how it started. Then I made the machine and I installed it, on her farm. And she told me, yeah, it was very effective. He said, immediately I switched it on, all the birds ran away. And she said, even like before, I used to see some crocodiles on the but they also ran away by the sound. Yeah, the sound do scare them because we have different sounds that are there. Wow. So she told me that it was really effective, that the birds were scared. Right. So up to today, the lady do call me now and then to greet me and then see how I am doing.
Aww. Yeah. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Mashallah, that's really, really great. So how has it been faring after you've invented that machine? What next? What next happened?
Yeah, after I invented, I did not stop there.
Right.
I believe that this could lead to something big. Right. Then I started writing to institutions, telling them that I have this prototype. Right. I can multiply it and then help people out there in the provinces. Right. So I wrote to a lot of institutions. None of them responded. Wow. I went to a teacher of mine who quit teaching and then he was working with NEA, Mr. Omar Sise. Yeah. I shout out to him, he's a very good guy, honestly. Yeah. He told me, okay, I know of one guy at Nema Project. He's a very good man. Yeah. Go to him and then tell him what you've done, the invention that you've made. He will help you. Right. So that happens to be the late Mr. Gassama. He passed away. He was the project director of Nemo project.
Oh,
So I remember the first time I went to him and then I explained to him. He told me, okay, we have a lot of farmers in the provinces that are complaining of bats.
oh,
So he told me, go and write a proposal, okay?
yeah.
And then bring it to me. I'll approve it. So that was how it started. So I wrote a proposal
Right.
about 12 units of the bus care and 16 units of the wind driven.
Right.
So it was a project that helped us to form ourselves, you know, and instead of looking for jobs,
Right.
we become job creators.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we became job creators. So
Right.
when I graduated, I can say that I never looked for job outside. Since then, I have been on my startup, you know, trying to, you know, work and create more things
Right.
for this country.
Right.
So after that, I was given the funds to create those machines, and it was an eye opener. Maybe if you go to our Facebook page, you will see some of the pictures
Yeah.
where we have been to the provinces, you know, installing the machines.
Yeah.
We've met different people who, you know, gave us different stories with these birds. So we learn a lot about the nature of the birds and what time do they attack and how do they attack the crops.
Yeah.
So it was a very good opportunity for us to continue solving problems for our country.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? So how would you now say your business is faring? I understand that you've employed other young Gambians whom you're training, I would like to believe.
Yeah.
And what would you say you may need, of course, if you can say that, but also what are some of the challenges your business is facing? But above all, how would you say the business is faring in Gambia?
I can say at this point, I would say Alhamdulillah, because at least we are busy, unlike the other previous months in which we sit down for probably months without doing anything.
Really?
Yeah, because there is no contract or project given to us. But now at least people are beginning to trust us that we can do certain things based on the history that we have of making machines.
Right.
So now I would say the business is very normal, stable.
Right.
You know, contracts are coming and boys are doing works and so on.
Fantastic.
So I would say a big Alhamdulillah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So how would you therefore say the Gambia is when it comes to accepting youth like yourself in doing business? Do you think Gambia is a place where, or the others will say the government has created an environment where youth can thrive, youth like yourself can thrive, get their own business, be their own problem solver?
Yeah. Yeah. The systems are there in place.
Okay.
But I also believe that there is mismanagement in the systems. So there are funds allocated for youth to thrive, and we are benefiting from those funds. But sometimes they're not given to the right people.
Okay.
And I would say, yeah, sometimes the right people are not able to benefit from that.
Okay.
So in most cases, they say the same person end up getting the same thing, you know, and that's creating a lot of problems when it comes to people that are doing the actual work and not being able to give in the funds. So I would say that the Gambia is still struggling when it comes to having a conducive environment for startups. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's still much work that needs to be done so that young people like us will be able to thrive in such environment, because as a startup you cannot compete with big companies.
Right.
So there should be that that opportunity that is given to you as a startup, so that like you can be able to stand at a good footing before things will get out of control.
Exactly. We've all heard it, because if we keep on saying we be job creators and not job finders, but again, Wally has it's been a clear testimony. He has his own business, so he's been there. He knows the problem that most startups would face. So therefore, it's important that the environment is created to make sure that startups, of course, you know, continue to solve problem in our country. On a final note, what message would you have for the greater young population of this country who perhaps believe that for them to actually thrive, they would have to go to school perhaps, or sit in offices, or you know, be in AC related environment, and not actually take the step that you've taken? What advice do you have for them? But also, what advice do you have for someone who perhaps did not complete school and thinks that he or she cannot make it?
Recently, I was speaking to one of my mentors, Dr. Jade. He's the project director of EBA project.
Right.
You know, I usually go to him and then tell him about my problems, you know, and then he also gives me advice. So I was, you know, talking to him, and I was telling him, you know, it's really hard in Gambia as a startup, and maybe other countries like in the US is better. He told me it's never easy anywhere. He told me even in those countries, it's also very difficult. Maybe not to your level, but to also their level.
Their level, that's true.
So it's never easy anywhere as a startup. That's something that is certain on everywhere that you go. So I believe anybody that wants to set up his own business, you have to also first understand that it's not going to be easy, and you also have to be fair to your startup, give it its time that is due to it, because you cannot also want to establish a startup and run it on part-time always. No, no, there will be a time where you will need to be on full-time on the startup. Okay. You have to quit whatever job that you're doing and focus on the startup 100%. That's what will take it further.
Right.
So for me, I believe if I was, and I told it to my guys like a long time ago. I told them, if I quit this startup and give it a part-time and find another job, it's done. It's gonna be, because engineering is a job that requires you to be fully engaged in it.
Right.
So that's any other business that you're doing. You have to have a timeline that, let's say, by the second year or the third year, I will completely, quit my job and focus on the startup so that it can thrive. Yes, and a final note also to the youths out there, never give up. Whatever you are doing, always believe that there will come a time it will be your turn. Yeah.
Oh, obviously, never give up, and there will come a time it will be your turn. But also, it's GTTI. You've passed through GTTI.
Yes.
So, would you advise anybody, perhaps, to who wants to be technically oriented, to maybe go to training, because it's important to have the training skills.
Yes.
Perhaps go to GTTI, but also it's your company. Perhaps looking at ways to get some more Gambians to train them. Any? Do you have any foreseeable things?
Yeah,
like
sure.
that?
That's what we have been trying to engage the relevant authorities on. Try to tell them, we want to train Gambia. Please let's try and partner so that you can be supplying us young people and we can be training them. But it's always a difficult experience.
Really?
But I believe, like when it comes to GDTI, like you mentioned, GDTI is a very good place to get the theory aspect of engineering. But when it comes to the practical, you need to go out for internship.
Right.
And that's what I did when I was in GDTI. I did my course there, but I was still not well exposed to the job. So I had to go for internship to two places. I went to Gilbro.
Gilbro.
Yeah, Gilbro. They have this factory where they make these drinks and so on.
Right.
But behind they also have an engineering department that used to manufacture their machines.
Okay.
Or let's say maintenance their machines, repair their machines.
Okay.
Like when they're producing drinks, sometimes the machines will have a fault and they would call the engineers to come and work on it.
Okay.
So from there also I moved to another car mechanic workshop. It was run by a German.
Okay.
Yeah, Heine. His name is Heine at Fajara.
Okay.
I also did my intern there for about 6 months. Then I was able to establish my business.
MashaAllah.
So yeah, so you have to also pass through those places where you get the experience.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So sometimes you may think that your time is wasted when not knowing that perhaps those things you're going through is preparing you for, it's just like when Jawara had to walk 165 miles, that is from Brikama to Barajali, not knowing that it was preparing him for what he was to become. So yes, anything you may want to add that perhaps I did not ask?
Yeah, that is to the public out there, to the diaspora, to always support us as young people. We are still struggling as a business. Applied Research, Innovation and Manufacturing is a company that is focused into agricultural engineering and manufacturing of food processing machines, anything that you want to create, even your household materials. Just come to us. We have a very conducive environment where we can have a one-on-one discussion with our engineers. You tell us your problem, we discuss it, and provide the best solution for your problems. So we are problem solvers, as I tell you. Yeah. So we always try to solve problems. Unlike other people, for us, when you come, we have a board, we have a projector. We sit you down and try to hear from you what you want and exactly how you want it. We'll do it that way. Not only machines, but even if you want to, build structures, you want to build like warehouses, you want to build anything you want to do that has to do with welding and fabrication, we can do it for you.
Fantastic. That's the difference to when you order it outside, because you may not have the clientele that you guys are offering the service to actually sit there and, so it's important that we support our dear brothers, young brothers who are being problem solvers, because that's all we need. Thank you so much, Wally. It's a pleasure. Until then, it's a ciao from the entire Generation Next team. Mohammed, thank you always for being our everything. Cheers.